Hey, hey, it's 8 p.m. Where you at? We are here for the wrap up of the KC Chronicles. Um, I was so busy telling more stories than I intended to last week that I forgot to address the biggest question and wrap up with you guys. So, Shamal, jump on here. Let's talk about it. Man, it seemed like that went by so much, that was so fast. There was so much just packed into those stories and conversations. Towards the end, I was just kind of like, whoa, head spinning. Hey, girl. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. So, y'all know I like to dive in for the people who watch this on replay. I might be sitting idle. So I'm gonna get started. And as you come in, you can catch up. We won't be here all day today, night, whatever. But in these past weeks, I have been sharing a great deal with you all about this Kathy and Cece character, and really how she ran away from this abusive household, home, family, straight into the arms of another abusive person, a child predator, who basically took over the grooming, abusive grooming that adults usually have to do when they're abusing children. And so, we went through what that looked like for me growing up with her. I didn't go through so much of what it looked like in my home before I met her, but it was enough for me to be looking outside of the home, okay, for some help, for a way out, basically. So it was like school was a way out, and then I found Kathy, and that I thought was going to be a way out as well. In some ways, I guess it was, but obviously, it was its own version of horrid, I guess. So we talked about in different stories, she used CC for sex, for money, to pay her bills, to for clout, to feel important in the community, to get kudos from everybody, to get noticed, to get dates, to feed her ego in general, and to be in control, really, because um, generally narcissists or toxic people are never in control of themselves. They can't control themselves. They can't control their emotions. So they look for prey, for people outside of them to control, because that's the only time they get control. So that was her thing, mostly her thing. And so then I got a bunch of, not a bunch, but a few of the same question, basically, of people asking, well, you went through all this stuff, and I mean, it is not lost on me how I must look like a miracle to people, because really these are the things, kind of the ingredients of I was gonna say that's kind of a harsh way. I was gonna say a crackhead. That's kind of a harsh way to put it, but these are the ingredients of a really tough life. Like, people get strung out for real on drugs and alcohol and all kind of other things because of abuse like this. People, that's how your daughter end up on a pole, because of abuse like this. And so it's definitely not lost on me. It's just that I've come to such a place over these years where I can talk about it pretty easily and freely and make fun of it to some extent, like I have been doing. But really, it has been a very serious focal point of my life for years, up until maybe just the last 3 years. has been a very serious focal point in me healing. And I mean healing on a deep enough level so that I know that I don't pass trauma along to my children, that same trauma. They're gonna have their own issues, but I don't want them to have my issues. So that's been my focus for many, many years. And it's been hard. There's nothing easy about it. There was nothing fast about it, even though I've learned later how to do it faster. But it wasn't fast for me. It wasn't easy. There were many hurdles to jump through. And so since you all kind of want to know, basically, it sounds like you want to know how I got on the other side. Of course, I go into detail of how I got here in my upcoming book, The Self-Mothering Effect. But I can give you some, we don't have a specific date yet, but believe me, y'all, just a couple months, it's going down. Okay. But I want to give you just an idea of some of the things I had to overcome and how it connects to the stories I've told you already. So if you haven't seen the Casey Chronicles stories, you want to go back. I think there are there might be 6 or 7 stories. So go back about 6 weeks and you'll see the different, or hear the different stories in session 1 through 6 or 7. Okay. So go back, listen to the stories. I'm still always open for questions. So you just have to inbox me your questions. If you have questions, if you need help, if you need other services, please inbox me, let me know. Okay. So one of the things that was just very deeply ingrained in my psyche was worthlessness. And that is, well, everybody has their idea of what that means for them. But in general, you don't know that you come here, meaning in this human form on this earth, worthy of all. You just don't know. People tell you you're not worthy. You know, you have to have this layer between you and God. And then they also teach us that God is outside of ourselves. So we don't see our own God likeness. So that was a lot for me, like layers. And the thing that really dug deep and made me feel unworthy is my feelings that my caregivers, my parents didn't want me. So the truth is, everybody has their battles, right? Everybody goes through their stuff and everybody's stuff looks different and people deal with it however they can. Now, my mom put me out when I was 16, like in a very brutal way. Like it was brutal. It was really brutal. And I was a really great kid for the type of home I was living in. So the home was abusive and, you know, drug infested and all this crap. And it felt like, okay, if my mom don't want me, like I was doing everything I could to make her happy, keeping secrets, you know, staying true, never, you know, telling, you know how to look. If you grew up in a hood, you keep your business in your house. Your family business stays in the family, or your household business stays in the house. And it was like I was checking all the boxes. I was the best student. I was a great second parent, really. I was a big sister, raising little kids, raising my little siblings. And I was like, God damn, I did everything I could think to do. And she just like discarded me. And then I ran into this person, Kathy, who was supposed to be my protector, another adult in my life, right? Who's supposed to know better than me, have more life experience, and thus show me how to have a better life, considering where I came from, right? And she turned out to be this whole fucking monster. Like, she was horrible, horrible. And I learned a lot from her. I did. I learned a whole lot about life, things that I probably wouldn't have learned if I stayed in the hood. But with that came this ultra control and slavery is what it felt like, really, especially in hindsight. I'm just like, ugh, sheesh. I was legit like just her little slave. And so that worthlessness really penetrated my heart and my mind. So over the years, I had this outer shell of being tough and confident, and everything was everything. I knew what to do. I knew how to do it. I knew how to move. I knew how to find the resources when I didn't know. And I made it work. But inside, I I felt like I had to do everything right in life to ever feel worthy of love. And that's all it was, love. Everybody wants to be loved. Everybody. I don't care who you are, where you come from. Everybody wants to be loved. It is literally woven in the fabric of our being. We need love, especially children. Children need love. Children need to be understood or feel understood. They need to feel heard, feel seen, feel like they're loved by the people who are closest to them. And usually that is their parents. So that was number one. That was probably my biggest hurdle because it was my foundational hurdle. Feeling worthless was the foundational hurdle. So that's the thing that actually took the longest to get over. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's not that it took the longest, but it felt like after I got over all the other things, it was like the veil was lifted and I could finally really see and understand how worthy I am, if that makes sense. Okay. Now y'all can ask me questions if you got them. I can't see who's over here, but I see y'all on here, but I don't see you talking to me. So feel free, okay? Now, that was number one. The second thing was, now that I did that, I feel like I should do it in order. No, guilt. Guilt was huge. I felt guilty for every freaking thing. It felt like I felt guilty for leaving my family, for leaving my mom and my siblings in the situation they were in. Even though, of course, now, in hindsight, I know there's nothing I could have done for them. Really, to this day, there's nothing I can do for them. There's nothing you can do for anybody. Everybody has to make their own decision to do something different, to have a different life, to make a different decision. Is up to the individual. So I know now, but at the time, I felt super guilty for leaving. I felt guilty for trying to make my life better when their life wasn't necessarily better, or by my standards, it wasn't better. I felt super guilty for basically like, I felt like I was like selling myself, like she was pimping me out or something. Like I was selling my soul to the devil, so to speak, to have this level of freedom. So I felt guilty for that. So it was like guilty for leaving, guilty for staying. There was so much guilt. I felt guilty for not believing the things that I thought I should believe in. So not fully believing in religion like I thought I should. I was queer from day one, but I felt super guilty for being queer and not wanting the life that people wanted me to have. And then when I tried to do all the straight laced stuff like they teach you, like they taught me growing up. And I tried to be a church girl, and I tried to like get married and stuff like that. And so everything about me felt like it was the opposite of what I was taught it should be. So along the way, I just felt guilty for being myself. And of course, I felt guilty for being myself because who I am, was rooted at that time in worthlessness. So it all makes sense now. But at the time, it was like, God damn it, I can't do nothing right. So I felt guilty. So if you listen to me on a regular basis, you probably hear all the time me saying, you got to give yourself a break. Like, it's up to you to be compassionate to yourself, to forgive and forgive. And I am the most forgiving person that I know, even. And that is the honest to God truth. I don't know a person for real, more forgiving than me. And that is to other people, because I understand that everybody's going through their own plight in their own way, and everybody can't, can match another person's level. Like, it's your thing, is your life, is your journey, and it's up to you how you're going to travel, so I forgive other people really fairly quickly. Now, forgiveness don't mean, they don't mean I mess with them all the time. Like, if you just a toxic person, I can forgive you and love you over there and keep it moving. But I do forgive. I don't hold on to that stuff. And I forgive myself over and over and over and over and over again, all the time, because guilt will kill your soul. And I've experienced that firsthand. So guilt is the second thing I had to overcome. Hey, girl. You too. I see you. Apparently, I got too much like glare over here. Okay, so guilt number 2. The third thing was being hyper independent. Because, I mean, as you could probably tell, everywhere I went, I could not depend on anybody but myself. I couldn't depend on my parents. I couldn't depend on my siblings either after a while. They had to go on their own journey. I couldn't depend on Kathy. I couldn't depend on my other mentors. I was gonna say definitely, not always, but mostly, I couldn't depend on the people I dated either, because I was not being my complete authentic self, but also because I was so messed up. What do you think I attracted? What do you think I attracted? Messed up people. Yeah. So I was fighting, dealing with my depression, and I attracted a whole super ass depressed man who, I mean, really, really depressed, who I almost married. Thank God I did. But anyway, that was the truth. So I was hyper independent, and I still really, I don't fight with it, but I still have to manage it, being hyper independent, because that's what I've done for 30 years, so it's like, now I have to go, oh, wait. What's your reason for not letting them help you again? Like, it's okay. Be cool. Like, that's your family. Let them help you. It's okay. Try again. Yes. Guilt sucks. Yes, it does. You have to forgive yourself. You must. But really, I still sometimes go, just, it's a knee-jerk reaction. If I feel overwhelmed, which thank God doesn't happen often anymore. But every now and then, if I feel overwhelmed, if I feel stressed or something, I just have this knee-jerk reaction, and I just have to do it all myself. It's like, and y'all know I got this little baby, so some days it's like, God damn it, if this tooth don't come up today, somebody's gonna die, and it's likely gonna be me, because she run this shit, right? So some of the days it's like, oh my God, could and I can easily call my sister or something. I can call her other parents. I can call people and be like, could you help my life right now? Because I'm struggling. But half the time I don't. I just be like, I'm gonna muscle through this until I check myself. And usually there's a friend. I have a wonderful person now who will check me in the nicest way and just be like, yeah, you still don't have to do it all yourself. Be cool. So that's something that will make your life way more stressful than it needs to be, one, but also will kill your relationships, because we are meant to be interdependent. We're meant to depend on each other. We're made to depend on each other. We need each other, quite literally. We need each other to live, to thrive, to survive. So to be hyper independent, and of course our society is kind of moving in this super independent direction and making people think they don't need other people. Even the fact that we do everything with technology and virtually is hard sometimes, because most people don't understand how much we need physical interaction. We need touch, and it is not sexual touch. We just need touch. We need to hug each other, and we need to, pat on the back and to hold hands and to see each other and speak to each other and really be in the flow of person to person interactions for our survival and for our thriving, really. And that is not a LadyWake opinion. That is scientifically based. We need it, y'all. So being hyper independent is dangerous. It is dangerous to your happiness. It is dangerous to your health. So I had to get over it. And I still manage it. Like people who have lifelong, complex PTSD or anxiety or whatever, and they got whatever drugs and stuff to manage. I manage it, for real. I manage it all the time. Not with drugs, but I manage it. And my awareness is really what gets me through. Because some days, that knee-jerk reaction will mess me up, trip me up. What happened? DJ L Groove. The fact that you're talking about this right now and the experience I had earlier lets me know you're not on the same brain wave right now. Okay. I'm gonna have to hear about this later. Send me a Marco Polo, homie. I'm curious. Okay. So we're made to be interdependent. That's a healthy form of independence or whatever. Okay. Now, the other thing was codependency. Codependency was probably the last thing, because I didn't know what codependency was for a very long time. And I didn't know that I was codependent for a very long time, which means I didn't know I was dating other people who were codependent, because you attract what you are, who you are, right? And so I just had no idea. I just didn't know. I didn't know. And I didn't know what that meant. But being codependent was something that I learned in childhood. Remember I told y'all I was doing everything I could to make my mom happy? Like everything. I was being the model child. I was being the model sibling as much as I could. I even had a job then, paying my own bills and some of hers too. Like I was doing everything I could. And so as I grew up, of course, dealing with Kathy, that was also rooted in codependency, narcissistic abuse as well, but rooted in codependency, because she was dependent on me as much as I was dependent on her. Because when you are narcissistic supply, that narcissist is dependent on you, are literally their lifeline, okay? Like a real life vampire. Like if I'm the one donating the blood and she's the vampire, but I'm addicted to donating blood. Like I have to do this. And of course she needs blood to live. So you just have this cycle. That's codependency. And it's rough. It's rough on levels. But when I finally learned about it and understood it and knew that it came from that fear of abandonment, because that's what it is. That's what it's rooted in. And the toxicity, because it's created. You don't just show up, just codependent. It's created, like all the other abuse and toxicity. It's created somewhere, and usually in childhood, because that's when we're most vulnerable and susceptible to those types of things. So I was really just that type of person who would do whatever it takes to make stuff right. And I thought it was me just giving my all. You know what I mean? Have you ever been there? Like you're trying your best. You're doing everything you can to make something work, because especially since I was so smart. I still am. I'm very smart. And sometimes the smartest people are the worst because you could talk yourself into shit and out of shit, even when it don't serve you. So it's like, I know all this data, right? Because I read all these books. I know all this data about how relationships work and how communication works and how it's really all about you doing your part and your effort has to be 100% and blah, 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 blah. So I would take all the stuff I know and mind fuck myself so that I could stay in some bullshit that was toxic and make it work, do all that I could to make it work. And thank God I finally got over there because sheesh, that is exhausting, exhausting. So eventually, of course, you get burnt out and you never get your needs met. So when you get burnt out, you are burned out. You are exhausted on levels, deeply exhausted. So I'm grateful for my last episode of deep exhaustion. It was a few years ago. But because it was like I had hit my rock bottom, so to speak. And I had that moment of never again. Like now that I really know, I understand because remember I had come through all that other stuff. So I had gotten rid of the guilt. I had gotten rid of, I had managed the hyper independence, the worthlessness. I had gotten rid of that. And so it was like, one by one, it was like a domino effect. It was like this got knocked down and that was out my way, then that was out my way. And then I was like, oh, codependency. I didn't know you were here. What the fuck? No wonder this has been so exhausting. And I don't even like this person that much. Why am I here? Okay, all of this is over. It's over. Pull the curtains down. I quit. And thank you. You're welcome. Like it was fun. Goodbye. And never again. Never again. Not even the desire. Never again. So it's an amazing thing. But back then, also, I guess this is the fifth thing I needed to get over. I had a real fixed mindset about how things were. I had a black and white mindset. I had a, things are either this way or that way, or you're from this place, so you're like this, or you're from that place, so you're like that. If you have an education, you're like this. If you don't have an education, you're like that. Black and white, depending on what kind of work you did, what you believed in, whatever. Like the general black and white ideals of society that we all run into every day. I had this fixed mindset about things because I was trying so hard to be this, I guess, traditional person, even though I only halfway agree with the term tradition, because I guess, well, American traditional, that's what it was. I was trying so hard to be what I was taught to be in church growing up. And it just wasn't my truth. It wasn't. So for me to live in that box, I had to close my mind to a whole lot of things. Because once I stepped outside the box, what? People was like, who is she? What did you do with our sweet little Cece? And I was like, oh, that's cute. Because, the people who've known me for real for a long time know that I've never been that sweet. Like I'm sweet, but I'm very spicy at the same time. And that's always been the truth. But there have been like 3 people who would know that. Now everybody know. But back then it was like, this is my secret. So this is the box that I've allowed people to put me in, and I'm going to stay in this box because this is the right thing to do. This is how I'm going to survive. This is how I'm going to have redemption. I must have done something wrong in a past life to have this bullshit life. Let me do everything I can right now so that I can have the love that I deserve and the family that I deserve and all these things. Like it was real, y'all, and it was rough. And as much as I was groomed in childhood, and those things could really just set you up for life. After a while, there comes a point where you have to say, yeah, this happened, abuse happened on levels, whatever. I was taught to do this. My wiring tells me to do this, but now it's up to me to do something different. It's up to me to learn how to heal. It's up to me to learn what the next steps are, to figure out how to step outside of this box, to figure out how to be my authentic self, to figure out how to get rid of these guilty feelings, to trust again. Because that hyper independence is all about not trusting people. You see this bullshit. You know, you definitely been my whole forever way back when, but my husband only let me hang with you. That's because he know it ain't real. You such a hater. See? Haters. I see you, Kimmy. Spot. What's up? Oh, the DJ Ogre to my spot. Come on. Yet so many people go through life alone and unhappy because of the box. Yes, yes. And what's crazy, Kimmy, is most of them be married or partnered in some way and still feeling alone and unhappy because of that box. Or they got a house full of kids and family and a career that looks amazing and things, clothes and shoes and toys, and still feel alone and unhappy. Y'all just shit. You see half the celebrities. They feel alone and unhappy. They black out. They get drunk and high, and that's their day-to-day life because they feel alone and unhappy, because they're not allowing themselves to be who they are. And so, I mean, it's way too much to cover here, but those are just some foundational things that I had to change along the way, that I had to heal along the way, so that I could be the person that I really want to be, so that I could be the person that you see in front of you now. For those of you who had the question, yeah, it's. I hate to make it sound like it's so bad, because the truth is, none of this is bad. Like when you finally understand life's journey and you understand how you go along and gather what you really want, you make decisions about what you really want, what you don't want, and you put these things out there for the universe to deliver them to you. And along the way, you just become more and more of that person who you really want to be. Now, desire plays a huge role in it, because I could have been a statistic. I could have been a teenage mom, or on drugs or whatever. I could have stayed in the hood. I could have not gone to college. I could have not fought my way through stuff. But my desire to be somebody else, or to live differently, to feel differently, was so huge that it pulled me up out of my element. It was my desire. So everything that happened to me was for me after then. And that's a realization I came to. And it freed me on levels. It just freed me so much. Because if I look back on it, it's like, well, if I could do things differently, would I do it differently? How would I do it differently? And it's like, no, you wouldn't do it differently, because you couldn't. You cannot. You can only do what you can do in that moment. You can only give what you have to give. That's it. And so if I didn't have it, it would have been impossible for me to give it. If I didn't know it, it was impossible for me to do things differently. So it's not a bad thing. It really contributed to who I am now. And now I am, well, I've always been amazing, but now I feel amazing about myself and others, and how I am, like how I love and how I show up. I don't feel vulnerable as a negative thing anymore. I feel like my vulnerability is my strength now, because I know what it is and I know what to do with it and I know why. Okay. So don't get me wrong. It sucked in the meantime where I didn't know. But once you get the knowing, once you get on the other side of it, you'll understand how it is all for you. It was all for you, and it is still all for you. And you just keep that desire to feel good, to live well, to be happy, and your desire will make room for you over and over and over again. It continues to every time, like every time. It's never failed me, not once, not ever. Even when I had no idea how amazing I was and I didn't know how to love myself, let alone somebody else, it still never failed me. So you keep it. I see you. Yes, strength and vulnerability. Absolutely. Absolutely. People will say so, man, people used to try to clown me, y'all, like, you are too nice. And I'd be like, first of all, you have no idea how nice I am because you don't deserve my level of niceness. That's number one. And I know that. So I give you the niceness that I can afford to let go of because I ain't gonna get that shit back. And I know this. So it's like, when you lend somebody some money, you give them what you can afford to lose, right? Because if they don't give it back, you got to be okay with that. So that's how I am with my energy. I give the energy I can afford to give out without expecting anything in return. And that just happens to be a lot because I have a lot of love to give. I just do. And then when I don't, watch how quick I cut your ass off. Just saying. But they used to try me, y'all. They used to try me. I'm just saying. It's all right, though. It's all right. They learn sooner or later. They all do. They all do. But really, y'all, I just wanted to come and I thought that question was so important of, how did you go through all of that and then get to this place? And somebody even asked me, is it real? And I was like, hey, that's a good question because so many people out here fronting like they're happy and they're not, acting like, they've healed when they haven't. They're really sad and depressed and harboring pain. And so I get that. And in these months, if you've been paying attention, you've heard my pain, the pain that was and the pain that still is. You hear my struggle sometimes. Like it's not all, rosy. It's not all great every single day. But most days it really is. Most days my life is pretty great. And I just, I don't apologize for that anymore. I used to act like it wasn't so great. Like when I first started feeling free, I used to be like, everybody's going through so much. And I just be like, shit, that is y'all business. Mine over here is pretty sunny. It's pretty sunny on my side of Chicago, even when it's snowing. Just saying. So yeah, it's real. But when real and happiness and authenticity does not need to be 100% fun and rainbows and like it doesn't need to be that for it to be authentic. It doesn't need to be that for you to be healed either. Like you can be healed and happy in general and still have a bad day. I told y'all I still manage my hyper independence. Like that's like managing PTSD all the time. I do. Because that's what I got to do. That's just where I am right now. But what I don't do anymore is judge myself for it. I don't blame myself. I don't blame other people. Nobody. Not my mama, not my dad. Nobody. Kathy, I don't blame nobody. I don't blame myself. I don't feel guilty about it. I don't feel like I'm less than perfect or whatever, because perfect isn't a thing. But I don't feel less than for managing PTSD or managing my hyper independence. I just don't. I don't feel bad when I have to take a break and shut shit down and be by myself, sit in silence, take a nap. That's my go-to. I'm stressed or overwhelmed, I will take a nap. Everybody take a nap. Nope. Everybody shut this shit down, take a nap. It's over. That's what I have to do in my house sometimes. Because these little kids will drive you crazy if you let them. But I don't let them. So balance, but every day isn't completely balanced. Sometimes, it's storming and you just got to ride it out. And other times, It's a beautiful day and the sun is shining. And sometimes the sun is shining and it's hot as hell and you can't breathe because there's no airflow. Like, you be all over the place sometimes, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, depending on your day, or the end of the week, like, you just want to make sure that you are content more than not, happy more than not, appreciative more than not. And then it'll just be more and more and more reasons to appreciate, more and more and more reasons to be happy. That's how we roll. We friends for a reason. Oh, you saw the amount of times you heard that? I know, right? Yes. They be hating y'all. They don't understand. It's all right. It's okay. It's all right. He said, go to sleep, bro. For real. Especially that little baby. I got to tell her sometimes, listen, kid, you need to go to sleep. I don't care what else we got to do today. Right now, we going to stop and take a nap because you're doing the most. I can't with you. So, but real, it's real. But yeah, y'all, that's it. That's it. So I don't know yet about next week. I'm gonna figure it out though. I'm sure it'll come to me because this just popped up. I was like, oh, I'm sorry and thank you. Let me address this because this is important stuff, y'all. It's important stuff. But I'm gonna keep it coming because apparently that's what I'm here for. And I thoroughly enjoy talking to y'all every week. So just come on back next Tuesday and we're gonna see what the universe brings. And of course, if you all have any questions in the meantime, just inbox me. I'm here for it. All right. Until then, y'all, I see you. Peace and love.